Hello, audience. Welcome back to another episode of Creating a Village. Yay! Um, Today is an a different format of how I usually do things. We're just gonna rock with it, see how it goes. Yes. Today I have my friend Crystal, boy in the building. Woo 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 woo. Um, I guess you can introduce yourself. Sure.
I mean, what do you want me to include in the intro?
I don't know. That's why I said I guess you can.
I'm screwed. So yeah, as Millie mentioned, I'm Chris. Both went to Howard together, graduated in 2022. I now work in the financial industry, originally from Synchro USVI. And yeah, that's my little intro.
Crystal, I never in my life heard you call yourself Chris.
Uh, I mean, I feel like my friends from back home would more so call me Chris. Um, I usually go by like Minnie as well. I don't think I really did nicknames in college though. Like everyone just calls me Crystal,
Mm,
but like Chris, like if you ever hear my family, they'll call me Chris, Chrissy, Crystalite, um, or other nicknames that I will not disclose to the public. Um,
okay, got you, got
but
you, got
like,
you.
yeah, I try to go by Chris though. Like if you look at my handles, a lot of my handles are like STX, which is Syncroy, and then Chris spelled like how it is on the screen, like CRYS.
Yeah, yeah, I picked up on that, but I just thought because you didn't want it to be really long. I was just okay. Hello. So Chris, it's okay. Um, so for today's episode, this is really just going to kind of be a random kind of structured conversation. Um, I think we're gonna start on the point of being intentional, but really it goes where it goes. So you may ask, why are we starting on being intentional? Well, that's something I'm working on currently in my life. Um, I've been going through life without any plans, if we're being completely honest. And recently, the word intentionality has been coming up a lot in just conversations I have with people. And we were talking about it a little bit earlier today. And so that's why we're here now to talk about being intentional. um, so do you think you're intentional? Like as a person, I guess?
Yeah, yeah, I think so. I think everyone makes jokes because I'm a Virgo that it's like ingrained in me through my zodiac sign. I'm a big planner. I love planning stuff, and then I also think that I am very vocal. I think I hate being misunderstood. So that leads to me being a lot more intentional, like intentional with
Mhm.
my words, intentional with my actions. Because I really don't like being misinterpreted. So I think I am a super
Mm,
intentional person. Um, so yes, the answer is yes.
wow. Okay. That just brought up a good point for me. So I don't think I'm intentional when it comes to like plans in my life for me to do things, but I've realized I do try to be really intentional with the words that I say. Like, I usually take a long time to talk sometimes. People are like, can you hurry up with your answer? But that's because I'm trying to make sure what I say gets communicated properly to you and that I'm not just letting my mouth run every which way. Wow, I didn't even think about being intentional in words, like as an actual thought process. That's so interesting.
No,
But yes.
intentionality in words is super important because I think that, like, for example, words have power, right? And I think
Mm,
even in terms of what you say to yourself about yourself, statements that you say carry weight. And I think intentionality, even making the cognitive decision of like, I'm not gonna say certain stuff because I don't want that, to put that energy out there at all. Like, for example, like when people make a mistake and they're like, oh, I'm so stupid. And it's like, well, if you keep saying that over and over,
mhm.
you may start internalizing it and believing it without even realizing it. And so being intentional about using proper vernacular in certain situations can be very impactful. And then also, like, I think you should be a person of your words. Like, if I say something to someone, like if I tell you I'm gonna do
Mm,
something, that's again intentional. I try my best not to make like hollow promises because I don't like them. Because I don't like people saying, I'm gonna give you the world, and it's like you literally can't do that. Um, I think it's
yeah.
much more appealing when someone's very precise of like, this is what I'm capable of and this is what I'm willing to do, or I'm gonna put forth my best effort. Like those intentional statements of like you're really taking time to say things with meaning behind them. So yeah, if you're intentional in what you say, that's already half the battle, right? Because you could make
Mm,
empty promises and empty goals, and you don't typically do that at all. Like you said, you take your time before you respond and you really think about what you're saying.
yeah. Audience, I would like to forewarn you now. I have recently come to Christ, and so I'm going to be mentioning God a lot. To your point about empty promises, growing up, I was always told not to say the Lord's name in vain, and the way that was communicated to me was like saying, "Oh my God," and I didn't understand it. I was like, "How is that saying the Lord's name in vain?" I didn't get it. But recently, I was reading in the Bible, Jesus said, "Do not take the Lord's name in vain, but or anything in vain, like any earthly things, like when people say on my mother or on this, like they're swearing that I'm going to do this on this person, on this on my bed, whatever. They're like swearing, and that's taking something in vain when you don't commit to what you're saying. But also in general, just being like you're intentionally trying to say like I have to swear to you because my yes, that's not enough. Like you won't believe me by just me
Mhm.
saying yes. And you're basically putting on yourself like, "Oh, I don't have enough faith in my own yes to communicate to you." So, wow. Yes, intentionality in words. Very important. Learning that. Learning that. But one of the reasons why I asked you on here is because I've been struggling with the idea of planning events for people. And in my personal opinion, you were like so good at that. like I feel like it's your gift to bring people together and make people feel included and just have a good time. Um, I know you were talking about it earlier, and you just flew off the cuff with all these ideas, like. But the real question is how did you get to this point of making it easy, I guess, or it being easy.
I think it's like literally not overthinking it. I think one, I'll say probably shout out to my mom. Growing up, my mom was always involved in a lot of different organizations and stuff. And I feel like seeing her do it made it feel like, oh, this is just natural. Like my mom's really big on like bringing people together, whether it's adults or children. She was a teacher.
Mm.
Seeing her do that type of stuff. So probably like just seeing her without knowing it. But then also I would say I just like people, like you said. I like making safe spaces. I like everyone feeling welcomed. I think as someone who grew up when I was a little kid getting bullied a lot and being excluded from a lot of things, I saw how it feels to be the like odd one out or be like ostracized. And it's not a good feeling. And it's also usually very unnecessary. Like the things that you assume, like, oh, for example, as a kid, um, for all intensive reasons, teachers used to make me sit out of like activities because they'd be like, "Oh, you're gonna hurt yourself," or like, "Oh, like you physically can't do that," and I'd be sitting there
Mhm.
frustrated because I'm like, "You didn't even let me try. Like, you don't know. You're assuming based on what you think you know about me, but like, you didn't let me try." And then I'd be even more frustrated when, let's say, I go to my dad and I tell him like, "Oh, they did this activity, and I wanted to do it. They didn't let me do it," and then my dad's like, "Well, we'll do it." And then I do it. And I'm like, well, they told me I couldn't do it. And look, I'm doing it right now.
Mm.
So I think when it comes to planning for people, making inclusive spaces is one, not assuming someone can't do something, but two, being comfortable with making adjustments to whatever you're doing for people who may need adjustments, right? So it's not to say like, oh, just disregard that anyone can, or disregard that anyone may need accommodations, as much as it's don't make assumptions on who is going to need an accommodation.
I'm so sorry. I was trying to. Okay, my laptop is down here. That's where your face is, and my camera's up here. So I was trying to just put you up there on my phone so I could look at the direction. But I logged in. Okay, technical difficulties. Sorry.
I'm screwing.
Yes.
But yeah, so I think not overcomplicating it. Think about, so I think I told you this earlier, right? So the easiest part about planning activities, planning gatherings, bringing people together is think about the purpose. Like, what do I want the
Mm.
purpose of this to be? So is it, I just want everyone to kind of get to know each other? Is it professional development? Is it
Let's let's stop at that first one. I just want people to get to know each other. That is legit one of the purposes of this podcast. Um, but I feel I, it just it don't click, you know. I want people to get to know each other, but what does that mean? How,
so I think that it depends on like how deep of a relationship you're trying to get them to have, right? So I think the deeper
mm,
the relationship you're trying to have them have, the more intentionality you need to make in terms of the regularity of these people interacting with one another,
mm,
versus if it's just kind of like quantity of getting different people to connect and then just giving them that opportunity to broaden their network and then kind of handing the keys to themselves to continue the relationship themselves. Those are two different approaches. um and so I'll start with the second one of, right, I just want these people to like meet, and then if the relationship grows more, that's in their hands. That's very much like an icebreaker type situation, right? So it's more like,
mm,
everyone go around and introduce themselves. You might have some questions of commonality. It can even be fun questions, right? Who likes R&B more than they like, I don't know, rock and roll? Who likes, traveling, and who likes staycations? Like, just those like basic questions to really kick it off, and people will see who's in the room that's similar to them. Or even
mm,
activities, right? If you want to do like ox wars, if you want to do like a scavenger hunt, and when they do the scavenger hunt, they say a little bit about, the significance of the objects. Um, there's different ways to break the ice, and then kind of promoting like, hey, I really hope that you all continue to interact of your own accord. Versus if you want to like continuously have the community grow and continuously have this population of people really feel like they all interact with each other, I think that's more of an intentional, regularly scheduled, hey, we're meeting, every single month on the third
mm.
Friday. We're going to kick it off with kind of updates, what's new in your life. We might do a highlight of each person. You can submit to me like fun facts that you'd want to share with the group. Then you might do, themes for each meeting where you get to know everyone layer by layer, right? So you might start off talking about their adulthood, like what do you do for work? Why did you choose that career? What's the most fulfilling part of your job? Etc., etc. Then you go the next meeting, another layer in. What did you study in school? Is it relevant to what you do now? Why did you go study that? Why did you go to that school? What's your favorite memory from when you were in college? Da 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 da. Then you go
You're
another
really
layer.
good at asking questions. Like, that's amazing because okay, sorry. No, keep going, but you're really good at asking questions. Like, wow. Mind blowing.
Thank you. But yeah, then you go another layer, you go to high school. Like, what was your high school experience like? Do you think you were a part of one of those like stereotypical cliques? Like, were you a jock? Were you a nerd? Were you a drama kid? Do 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 do. Is there any cool competitions you did in school? What's your favorite memory?
Mm.
Do 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 do. Then you go another layer. Did you go to middle school? What was that like? Da 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 da. Then you get to childhood, elementary school, talking about families. What's your family like? Like, where's your family from? How did that influence you growing up? What are things from your childhood that you feel like, really molded you into the person you are now? And then from there, like, really getting into the nitty gritty conversations, right? Like, what are things that you think you can improve on? You're an adult now. Your parents obviously raised you how they raised you. Is there things that you would do differently? Is there things that you think that need to be unpacked? Is there like I
Mm.
feel like as you progress, if it's like a group of people that you're continuously going with, it's going to start similar to the first one, where it's kind of surface level questions. But if you're trying to get to that like bonding type of experience, the more comfortable people get, the more they want to share with you. And so that's kind of how you progress of like each meeting getting deeper and deeper and deeper into it. It doesn't have to be super serious conversation either. I don't think anything I asked was like super, super serious, but it's still getting to know that person. I think, like you mentioned, kind of bringing people together and being good at it comes from, as you know, like my genuine interest in like people's different backgrounds and cultures and histories and traditions. And I feel like the best way to learn those things is asking those questions. You have to ask
Mm.
people about themselves. And people love talking about themselves. Sometimes you get answers you didn't even ask for. But if you're authentically invested in the conversation, it just kind of happens. Like, I think a lot of times when I have like gatherings or if I bring people together, I'll prepare some stuff, but a lot of times we don't end up following like my script or my agenda, and that's fine as well. I think that's also
Mm.
what people get caught up in is like, oh, I had this, and this plan, and this, and this plan.
I get caught up in that real bad. I remember
Yeah.
one time I planned something in college and it was a bonding event and we were supposed to be painting. And so like I had the schedule like, okay, we're gonna bond and chat, then we're gonna move over to the table to paint, and then we're gonna present the paintings. And it was not going like that. And it was like totally messing with me. Like it was ruining my mood. And I was trying not to let it ruin my mood. But I think that's why inherently I know I shouldn't plan events as who I am right now because I be wanting to fight when you don't follow my game plan. Um, I'm gonna work on that. Yes.
I think what it is though is like you have to think about what the purpose of the event is more than the agenda, right? So like if my purpose
Mm,
of the event was to get these people to make organic relationships with each other, and even though we're not, like you said, they're not even painting, they're just talking. Okay, but are they having a good time? Like is that my goal of the event? I think a good example of that actually is my niece and nephew were here over the summer, and I got to like take them for a weekend. And I had all these plans in my head, Millie. Like I was like, "Oh, I'm gonna take them to like this park, and then I'm gonna take them to get ice cream, and then I'm gonna take them to this, I'm gonna take them to that." And I had an agenda. I kid you not. I was like, "Okay, y'all, do y'all want to go?" No, I think I told them like, "Come, like I'm gonna give them a tour of where I live first, so they can like see
hmm
it." And then they saw the pool, and it was over. They were like, "Auntie, can we just go in the pool?" And I was like, "Oh, you don't wanna like, you don't wanna go to the park? Like, you don't wanna go get ice cream? You don't want" They're like, "No, like, I just wanna go in the pool." And I was like, "Okay," like, because the point of what I planned all of that for, right, is it was super important to me that we make memories together while I had
mm,
access to them, because they literally live on the opposite coast. So it was like, I wanna make memories, I want this to be something that, like, when they're older, they remember that one summer, we were with auntie for the weekend, da 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 da, like, but if they wanna go to the pool, we can make memories at the pool. Like, it doesn't matter where we are if they're having a good time. When I tell you they had a blast, we were in that pool for
Aw.
like 4 hours. Like, they were having a blast. We were like taking videos, sending videos to their parents. Like, they were having so much fun. And so, even though everything I planned went to the wind and I spent all week planning it, it didn't matter much to me because it was like, and I asked them, I was like, did y'all have fun? And it was like, yes. And I'll also say, like, my nephew's pretty he's not introverted per se, but he's a little bit more of like a he doesn't really speak unless spoken to
Like
sometimes.
relaxed,
Yeah, he's relaxed.
calm.
He's really mellowed out. He was hype. He had a great time. He was chatting to me about this pool, okay? Um so I think it's about identifying the goal and then being content as long as you meet that goal. The agenda don't really matter. Like once you get comfortable with
Yeah.
that, and then it's also if you don't get to it this time, it's a great excuse to be like, well, I had planned for us to do this today, but obviously we got sidetracked in conversation. We'll paint another time, or like we'll go do the activities Auntie had planned another time. And I think people will be more open to it because it's like, oh yeah, you did say that you wanted us to do this thing, and we kind of got carried away doing this other thing.
Mm. Wow, that's so crazy. You know what's really wild about you saying that experience? It just reminded me of every movie scene I've ever seen, like in a movie. how someone's in a setting and they're getting so mad at things happening. But then at the end of the movie, the moral was, oh, we did have fun along the way. Like, wow. Ugh. It takes so much. And the reason why it's crazy is because I claim I learned so much from movies. But obviously I be learning, but I don't be implementing it in my life. But that no, that makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. Okay, I'll work on that. But yes. And I just want to say this, Crystal. You don't have to wait for me to ask a question. You can ask me a question.
I'm sorry. I mean, it's your
No,
podcast.
no.
I didn't know.
I know. No, a lot of people, they're like, this is your show. But it's not. It's the community show. This is for
I'm
everyone.
hollering.
I don't
Um,
have the questions.
I don't know what I would ask. I mean, like, what do you think makes a good gathering or good, like, when people bring you together, what is the part of it that you look forward to the most?
That's a really great and hard question. I feel like I just like laughing moments. So kind of not when things don't go to plan, but or maybe if they planned like a funny moment where we could genuinely interact with each other. Oh, so maybe like games. Because in games, there's a lot of things you try to do something, you try to get to an end goal, but then you end up not meeting it. But it's like hilarious in that process. I love that. Those are probably like the best events. Yeah. I think that's what I look forward to the most. I just like laughing, and those are the best moments when you can fall out on the floor.
That's fair. No, that's definitely fair. And then do you think
And
like
food.
food is
Sorry.
always required? Any
Yes.
event with food is already 10 times better than if it didn't have it, if we're being honest.
Yes, point blank period.
What I was gonna ask is if you think that, because I would say I think we have pretty different personalities. I don't
Mm,
think I would say we're polar opposite because I feel like there's a lot of commonalities between us. But I think like we're both on two separate sides of spectrums in a lot of character categories. And
mm-hmm.
if you think that personality maybe plays a role in the different ways that we would plan like a gathering, like you said, like I
I do.
think I would want to think, what do you think, or what personality do you think, how do I phrase this question? Okay, think about how you would assume one personality would plan something, describe the personality and how they'd plan it, and then describe the polar opposite personality and how they would plan it.
Okay. I have a great example. Um, so a personality type, they're like outspoken. They enjoy sharing all the things that they do because they're proud of it and they're very passionate. That is really great and nice. I feel like they would plan like a poetry night, an open mic night, something along those effects, or like karaoke. I don't want to say something loud because poetry doesn't have to be loud, but like something where there's sound and there is some type of conversation going. Something where there is like a conversation piece. Um, and then on the other side of the spectrum, I think, okay, going back to the outspoken person, I don't want to say forced conversation, but there is like without a doubt a conversational element. On the
Hmm.
other side of the spectrum, someone who's more reserved, they find comfort in being around people, but you can just be in the same room and you don't have to necessarily like talk or engage about the same thing. I think they would plan painting and just, like in art class when they put something in the center of the room and they're like, okay, paint what you feel. Yes. And everyone paints. And then at the end of the class, they're like, all right, class, thank you for joining us. And goodbye.
I think that's
Yeah.
interesting because I think if someone asked me that, I would assume that, like you said, so I think what you described was like an extroverted personality versus introverted. And
Yeah.
personally, I feel like they might actually do the opposite. So I feel like a lot of times,
Mm.
if extroverted people feel like they're catering to an audience, they understand that they're extroverted, so they try to find something that's not necessarily on the extroverted side of the spectrum to accommodate the fact that not everyone's extroverted. And I feel like introverted people on like habitually will be like, I know I'm introverted, so let me try to do something out of my comfort zone. Um, and I
Why
think
are you actually explaining my thought process though? Because when I'm thinking about myself in that situation, when I'm thinking about events, I'm like, ooh, I have to do something where we get involved and engaged with each other so that people can meet and have all this fun time, even though I personally probably would not want to be in that environment at that moment. Well, no. I wouldn't want to be in that environment because I want to engage with you as a person, but I wouldn't go out of my way to be consistently in that environment. I wouldn't. Okay.
But I think that's also like a learning point, right? I think we should lean into our strengths and also be realistic about our personalities.
Mm,
So like if you're planning a gathering and yes, you could want to meet people that aren't exactly like you or have different personality traits, but it's also like being authentic about what's least exhausting for you and what's the type of activity you like. Because even if, again, like you and
mm,
I are great friends, I would say I'm more extroverted than you are and you're more introverted than I am. However, I still find kind of joy in activities that you find joy in. Like if you did a painting and it was literally just us painting and listening to like mellow music and not necessarily talking, I would be comfortable with that. Like that would be fine with me. And I think the
yeah.
same like you said, if I invited you to maybe like a poetry type of outing, you would probably participate and it would be out of your comfort zone, but it's not like I'm having you do something completely out of your comfort zone where you're like, I don't want to go. I
Mm,
think what that does as well is attract those individuals though that coincide with the planner's personality better. And I think it also takes stress off the planner. When you're doing something that's literally opposite to like who you are, it's a lot more draining. And also, I think it's a lot more frustrating when you feel as though you've put in all this effort to give the people what they want, and then they start
mm,
doing something completely different to what you want. Versus if you just do kind of what you want, and then I think the best thing to do is get feedback, right? So, like, if you do it
yeah.
and people are like, well, I wish, like, let's say we did the painting and there was no talking element. Like I said, we're just painting, we're just listening to music. And then the feedback was like, even if we don't necessarily talk to each other, I would have loved to know more about why people painted things in the way they did, right? Because we're all going to paint it a little bit different. Maybe I use different colors, maybe this, that, and the third. And that could easily be a speaking element that might not be as much of a speaking element as like the
Mm,
poetry situation, but it's still people getting to learn about each other and a lot more of a calmer event and those types of things. And that's easy to literally implement in real time, right? Like if someone was like, I
yeah.
really want to hear about this painting right now, just start the conversation. Um, so I think that's another part of like planning stuff. I think people feel the need to overanalyze what they think the audience wants instead of thinking about, again, what type of experience am I trying to have and what kind of audience am I trying to attract at this said gathering?
I dislike when people say things and it's like, so duh. It makes so much sense. That's so wild. Okay. I have so much reflecting to do all the time. It's ridiculous. But okay. I received that. I'm gonna think about that.
I mean,
You
this is
know,
growth.
yeah. And that's the purpose of this podcast. If you like this podcast and you want to grow some more, you should like, comment, and subscribe. Leave a 5-star review. Okay. Wait. I'm crying. I'm sorry. I'm actually really proud of myself because I think that's the first time in the middle of the episode I've remembered to tell someone to to do that. Okay. Enough about that. What else do you want to talk about? I don't
Um,
know.
I think, I guess to wrap up the conversation, I did want to point out though, I think like it's a lot of fun to be around people and learn about people. And even if you're not a people person, I think there's always a niche to find something that
Mm,
interests you. So like just find your niche and then go from there. Um, and also, I don't know. If anything, it's always fun to learn about different experiences, right? Like I think we all assume
yeah,
our experience is like the experience, like, oh, everyone experienced that in high school, everyone experienced that in college. And it's like, actually, no, they did not. So things
precisely.
to think about, I guess. I guess something else for us to talk about.
Oh, wait.
Mm,
To Crystal's point, not everyone learned the same way that you did. That's why we
facts.
have creating a village, so that you can share your experiences and compare them with other people
I'm
and
hollering.
learn from them. No, but actually, kind of like really, really touching back on your point though, that's why I wanted to start creating a village so that we could have the different niches in like one place. Now, I realize that is a big task to take on, and I might be doing the most. But I do think it's like so essential to have like a central place you can go to try out new things and learn new things. And especially now that I'm like getting out of my room and consistently meeting with a group of people again, like out after being in college, I feel so like, oh, so happy. Like, oh my goodness, these people are so cool. Like, wow, I'm making friends outside of college. That's wild. Never thought that would be me. But yeah, so I do think it is like really intentional to seek the things that you're like slightly interested in, because at first, like, sure, social media is cool, but I never thought I would be like working in it. But now that I'm working in it, I'm really discovering this is nice. And the people here are nice. And everything is nice, you know?
But I also think, and this is just a suggestion, right? If
Mm-hmm.
creating a village is meant to kind of literally create a village and network of people where everyone can interact, I think even these podcasts, right? You could post on your story like, who wants to hop on a podcast Tuesday at 8 p.m. and just like record your followers like having conversation, just having, we call them like table topics, and you just choose like table topics, right? So you ask like, who wants to share a story about this, or who wants to talk about this, or what's your opinion on this? And then organic, like your podcast could just be your followers on your podcast talking about different subjects and
Crystal,
learning from each other.
everyone meet our new event coordinator and because because why is that exactly the idea of the podcast? Like when I ask people on the page, oh, what is your opinion on this, I'm trying to take their answers to the podcast, but I need to bring the people to the podcast. And I I realize I keep creating like barriers of entry for people. I'm like, oh, go to this Google form to be on the podcast. Or, just explaining all these different things that someone would have to do in order to get on the podcast. But that was so perfect. Like, girl, Crystal, I'm actually so serious. She's this a staff member now. You'll see her on the website when that's up. So
In real time. I just want y'all to know when this like, gets its first million followers, we're gonna look back at this podcast at the time that I said like this is the new structure and be like, wow, look at us now.
yes. No. Period. Oh my. Round of applause, yeah.
I'm screaming. But yeah, no, I think you make it real easy. Even I think even if you do a day of, be like, who wants to hop on the pod and just see who hops on and just be like, this is what we're talking about. Have some that you schedule. Have some where it's like you might throw the topic out there and be like, hey, I'm trying to have a conversation about XYZ, who wants to hop on? And maybe just make it as easy as like people DMing you, like DM me your email, I'll send you the link and they hop on or something like that. I think it'll be a good time because I think
It would be a good time.
I think the informality of it all would be great. And then you can ask people as you go, like, hey, would y'all want to be a part of, you know, basically like a regular member of the village, maybe add like a distro list and like I don't know, stuff like that. I don't know.
No, Crystal, because uh, and oh, not I was about to do another ad. No, but actually, like in all seriousness, that is why I wanted the village of people because I definitely cannot think of everything on my own. I'm not meant to. Having conversations with people, they be giving you ideas that just come naturally to them. Like, girl, where was your mind? Like, wait, can I have it, please? No, that's so amazing. I will be implementing that. Matter of fact, next week. I don't know when this episode's coming out. I was gonna be like, you should be on whatever. We'll get there. Thank you for that. Um, I will be contacting you on a regular basis now for our meetings. Hello. But what was the other topic that you wanted to talk?
Child, I don't even remember anymore. What would be a good topic? I mean, do you want it to kind of flow in what we're already talking about? Because it could it be something completely separate?
It could be something completely separate. I'm down with the flow wherever we go. That's for show. Ho ho ho.
I'm screaming.
Sorry. Okay.
I think maybe we could talk about. I think this is interesting. Um, I think it's interesting how even as adults, we feel this need to like have a summer break.
No, actually, very much so.
Like I feel
Yes.
like it's embedded in us that like summer break is a thing. Even as adults, considering you have to like when in the workforce, you have to take time off. You also don't have enough
Yeah.
PTO to take the entire 3 months off because that's not real. Um, but it's interesting because I felt like even as an adult, I expected a summer break, and I don't know if that's because I'm not familiar with like globally kind of school structures. So I don't know if it's
Hmm.
just an American thing in the
It's
school system.
it's American. You know, fun fact, they started summer breaks because they didn't have air conditioning in schools. Like when they first started. So it was getting too hot for students to be in school. I don't know where
It's
that came
fair.
from. Like where but yeah, because I think in other parts of the world they do like year-round school, which is why people say they're like killing us in the education system. That doesn't matter. I think summer break is so necessary. I remember when I started working at my church, I was like, "Oh, I hope you have a great summer," and they're like, What do you mean? I'm gonna be right here." Like, summer, I'm not in school. That's not a thing. And I think that
No.
is so crazy. Ugh.
I think it's also a
Oh my
weather thing though,
gosh.
like you said. Like the weather for travel is better and like going to a beach and like those types of things.
Yeah.
But I still think it's funny because like in my brain it's still summer break. Like it's summer break. It's not
Mm-hmm.
just summer.
Yeah. No,
But I
definitely
also
a time
think
of breaking.
like hot girl summer is funny because I feel like it's a relatively new concept. But I
Yeah.
think even like hot girl and hot boy summer makes it feel like there's a need for me to go outside even if I'm not going on
Mm-hmm.
vacation. Like I should be doing activities,
Yeah.
which I think is pros and cons, right? I think it's good to socialize and give people, I don't want to say an excuse, but like a reasoning behind why they're outside so much. But then it's also
Mm-hmm.
like, are we falling into a societal construct that pushes us to spend money, especially if you're spending money you don't have to be
Mm-hmm.
outside?
Talk
Um,
about
I think
it.
it's interesting because like that's how I felt. I felt this summer. I mean, I traveled decently this summer, but I also feel like some
uh,
people were like,
did she say decently? Y'all, she was out the country. Like,
so
girl,
decent.
she be planning the trips.
But I
Crystal, your
mean,
travel guide.
I mean, like, I feel like people. I still feel like some people were like, after my trip, when I did do my trips, between my trips, it was like, oh, but you don't like, I don't really see you going to the club. I don't really see you going to brunch. I don't really see you doing this. And I'm like,
Mm,
I have bills and I have work and I also have at the time I thought I was gonna fly out the country during Christmas as well. So I was like, I have other things to plan for. Um, so
But
I
I
think
think
something.
that's so important. Oh, sorry.
Oh no, what do you think is important?
No, like realizing your priorities, and I don't want to say going out the country or like traveling. I feel like it's better money spent than going out to brunch on a consistent basis, maybe. But at the same time, for people who can, but I feel like for your trips, you save, like you put money aside to go on those trips. So I think in that regard, like making sure, okay, I can skip one brunch this week and put that brunch money aside to go on a trip. Because I think that's a really good experience. I think traveling is so valuable and important, and so having those priorities in place, like, I do have bills, but I also want to, catch a flight. Put those in place is really cool.
No, I'm gonna
Mhm.
hop in my bag real quick because this is something that I talk about all the time because I feel like people really try to make it sound like I must be making bags on bags on bags because of how frequently I travel. And I don't think they recognize how important as an adult, as a person in general, I think even in college,
Mm.
knowing how to prioritize and budget is realistic and you can have nice things if you just plan accordingly. Intentionality with the budget. Um,
Period.
so what I would say is, so the breakdown that I give people all the time, right? Kind of like you said, let's say I go to brunch every single weekend, right?
Mm.
Brunch, the brunch that I go to usually has a show. I'm not gonna lie. It's really nice.
Oh.
So to get in is $10. And then let's say your food, let's say you spend like $20
Mm.
on your meal, your entire meal, and then your drink is another $10. And to me, this is on the pretty decently priced side because we know brunch can get expensive real fast, real quick. So I only got one drink, a $20 meal, and $10 entry. That's $40, right? There is
Mm-hmm.
4 weeks in a month. So let's say there's 4 Sundays and I go every Sunday. If I go to brunch every single month, not every single week in a month, every single month, each month I'm spending $160 on just brunch. Just brunch. Like we're not talking about my day to day, we're not talking about groceries,
Mm.
gas, bills, nothing. Just brunch. Just that one outing, if I go every single week, is $160.
And that's wild.
And that's a flight. $160 is a flight. Like I can book a flight
Mm.
to a variety of states. Actually, it's not even just booking a flight to like the nearest state. It's like there's a few flights I could book for $160. Let's say I don't go out for 2 months, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's what? That's like 320 or something like that. I think that's the math, 320.
Yeah, pull out the
Um
calculator.
I think 160, that's 320. But that's
Yeah.
$320 from me not going to brunch for just 2 months out of the whole year. $320 again, that's a flight and maybe a hotel
Mm.
stay. Like, do you see what I'm saying? Like, when you start doing the math about, you have to think of opportunity costs. Would I rather
Mm.
go to brunch every single Sunday, or would I rather go on a trip, see some friends, see some family, make some memories that I couldn't otherwise make? I think it depends on where your priorities lay. And also, you could be in circumstance like myself, right? I'm not around a lot of my friends. I'm not around a lot of family where I live right now. So traveling to me is
Yeah.
a great way to like, everyone will say, we're going to Las Vegas. We're going to all meet up in Hawaii. We're going to all meet up out the country. Like, and that's to me a lot more fun than, oh, I'm going to go to brunch solo once a week, every week.
Yes.
So I think thinking of that too. And then also I try to tell people all the time, you can't look at someone who's doing something and assume like there was no sacrifices made, right? You don't know how much times I
Mm.
decided I wasn't going to the club because I knew I needed to save for a trip. You don't know how much times maybe I didn't get Starbucks because I was like, that money I'm finna spend at Starbucks, I could spend when I get to Costa Rica. Like it's all about opportunity cost. And I think to people it's like, oh, it's not that expensive. It's only $15. $15 over and over and over again. If you spend $15 4 times, that's $60. That means 8 times is $120. The math starts mathing super quickly. And shout out to Howard School of Business because the way I do the
Yes. No, I
calculation.
was thinking that. I was like, oh, opportunity cost, all the accounting term. I was like, School of business.
But nah, like it's real. Like when I really start breaking it down for people, it starts to click and make sense. But I'm like, no, it's
Yes,
really
no.
what it is.
Because it don't be clicking till it click, you know? Like, it don't click till it click.
Yeah, nah.
Yes. Wow. Now that I'm going to be getting a job, because so many people have talked to me about budgeting, like I'm making it a point to make sure I budget because I know there's things that I want to do and places I want to go. Instead of like trying to keep up with the Joneses when I know I shouldn't be, now I can actually, hang out because I got savings.
But I think also like again, getting in my bag, y'all, I could talk about this all the time. I'm a big budgeting person. I love a good budget. I think I've told you this before, Millie. I 10 out of 10 recommend having multiple accounts, and each account should be
Mm.
designated to a specific thing, a specific purpose, an intentional purpose. Um,
I love it.
so like I have my savings account, right? I have my this account pays my bills, and then I have
Mm.
my this is my pocket money, right? So I feel like my
Mm-hmm.
pocket money account is the account that I kind of care about the least in terms of I need to put money in my savings account and then money in the pay bills account. And
Mm-hmm.
then what is left in the pocket money, we got to make that work until the next time she gets rebooted to put into the two other pockets. I also think that, for example, um, my savings account just doesn't exist, right? In moments of crisis, unless it's a major crisis, when I look at these first two accounts that I can't solve between these two accounts, this last one just does not exist. Like money goes into her and disappears, right?
Mm-hmm.
Versus these two is like the bills account and the pocket money account. If I can solve the issue with these and not starve, nor be delinquent on any bills, then I'm
Mm.
gonna solve it from these. Now, will that maybe transfer over again to a situation of you can't get the Starbucks girl because you don't have enough money for Starbucks? It might. However, that's the point of budgeting and saving, right? Like every single time something arises that you didn't expect, I don't think that necessarily means going to your savings account.
Yeah.
And then I think even if you do go in your savings account, like for example, my savings account for my birthday, I told myself I'm gonna take out only this amount of money and one
Mm.
had a plan in place for putting it back, but also two, it didn't matter what
Oh.
happened. It was you're not taking out any more money than what you already designated out to yourself, right? So whatever I said was the max for me to take out, I took that out and then again the account just didn't exist. Um
Wow, that takes some real discipline. Also, I really liked what you said about having the plan in place to put the money back, not just take it out. The plan needs to be in place. Okay, this money is going to be back by this amount of time. There's just certain stuff you don't think about when you don't be thinking about money. That's something I need to think about.
but I think
Wow.
also like I think I could say even in that, right? It's being realistic with your expectations.
Mm,
Because for example, let's say I had $1,000 saved, right? And
yeah.
let's say for my birthday, I was like, okay, I'm gonna use half, right? I
Mm-hmm.
might tell myself realistically, or well, actually, let me give a better example. Let's say I save $5,000, right?
Mm-hmm.
In my mind, I never want my savings account to go below a certain number. So let's say that number is 2,500.
Mm-hmm.
So even though I have 5,000 saved, I'm comfortable with my savings account as long as she never hits or goes below 2,500. Using the same example though, let's say I use 500 for my birthday, so now I only have 4,500. I
Mm-hmm.
might aim to put that money back, but I may not be as upset or pressed about it in terms of timing, like you said. So it may be
Yeah.
more of a I'm intentionally probably if I'm saving $25 every payday, maybe I'll up it to 50. Maybe a random time I'll do 100 because I know at one
Okay.
point I took money out of it. But I think it's also that's I think where you have to do it too. Like when you save, you need to have something that it's when even in times of crises, I never want this account because you never also want to use all your savings because
Yeah.
there has to be another option. The sky cannot be falling that bad that you have to use all of it. Um, But yeah, I think that it's really, like you said, it's a discipline thing. I
Mm,
personally am very, 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 very disciplined when it comes to spending money because I feel like there's just no reason. I also think that you should always live within your means and be
mm,
realistic about what that is. And I think even as life gets better, if you were comfortable before you got a raise, you should remain comfortable after you got a raise. And I think the issue is people adjust things after they get a raise
yeah.
to have access to more things. But I personally think that, like, for example, if I got a raise, I would still, oh, well, let's set up the whole scenario. I get a raise, but my living expenses are the same.
Mm.
I then default to I'm still putting aside, actually, pause. I get a raise, my living expenses decrease. I'm still going to put aside the same amount of money that I used to put aside, as well as I'm going to increase how much I save. And more than likely, I will still have a little bit more pocket money. So you understand what I'm saying? So even though I got a raise, my living expenses decreased. So let's say, I don't know, maybe I had to pay for a garage. I no longer have to pay for said garage. I will still put aside the same amount of money for my bills, even though they've decreased, and then I would increase how much I'm saving. And depending on the raise
Oh,
so you see what I'm
okay.
saying?
Yes.
And so then that turns
Okay.
into kind of a double saving situation, right? I'm putting aside more than I need for bills while increasing how much I'm saving and pretending doesn't exist. That makes
Mm,
it so, again, in those circumstances when something unexpected happens, I don't have to go to my savings because this account that's holding my bill money will always have a surplus of some sort. And because it has that
yeah.
surplus, when something unexpected happens, I can treat that unexpected event as a bill, right? So, like, let's say, I don't know, I get a nail in
Oh.
my tire. Now I have to put down $200 for a new tire. Instead of going to my savings account, I'll go to my bills account.
Mm.
So I think it's stuff like that.
Wow. It is stuff like that. Girl, are you do you keep books? Like, I'm about to be coming to you for everything. Oh my goodness. Yo, that I just it just makes sense. It makes the sense. Huh. Okay. Wow.
Because I will say stuff happens in the reverse too, right? Where like you get a raise. Let's say when you got your raise, your living expenses stayed consistent. But you still, maybe I put away a little bit more,
Mm.
and then a year from now my bills go up. Well, because I've already been saving at a surplus in my bills account, I don't really see that effect, right? If my bills went up, I don't know, let's say $100 a month, but over the span of last year, each paycheck, every month I save $200. Again, that increase in my bills isn't really gonna mean much to me because I already saved the money to pay the bill without having to touch my savings. Um, this is a lot of math and also like perspective on things, right? Like I know for me personally right now, I kind of need a new pair of AirPods because my AirPods are on their last, like, and I've kind of done the math where like I'm gonna save enough in my bills account to treat buying AirPods as a bill more than
Mm.
taking it from my pocket money.
Oh. And you can use your pocket money to have fun.
Correct. The goal of the pocket money is fun. I will say the pocket money is also usually like groceries and gas and like day-to-day expenses. Um,
Mm.
but that all depends on
Okay.
perspective. Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say I would have considered like gas and groceries a bill. I don't know, but yeah, it just depends. Yeah, perspective.
What I was what I was trying to say was I wouldn't consider groceries and gas and stuff a bill just because of the inconsistency of it. It's like you can give yourself a
Um,
budget, obviously, but I think I consider it pocket money because I think like the frequency in which I put gas in my car is about how frequently am I going out and going outside, right? And I kind of think of it the same as like an Uber or like Ubering and stuff. Like
Yeah.
if I was paying for Uber and stuff, that would be out of my pocket money. That wouldn't be a bill per se. And then
Mhm.
groceries again is like whether I buy groceries or eat out, I have to feed myself. And again,
Um,
that comes down to like how effectively am I planning out where I'm buying what from? Like there's certain stuff I think you can like buy in bulk and just have stored up. Then there's other stuff that you have to buy like pretty more regularly and frequent because they expire and such. And I think
yeah.
because of how much that fluctuates, like one month I might spend $200 on groceries, and then the next month I might just spend $50 on groceries. And I think because of how much that fluctuates, it makes it a little hard to put it into my like bills account because my bills, I think
Yeah.
bills are things that are like consistent. Like I know I can estimate like my light bill, my rent's pretty consistent, my car note's pretty consistent, insurance pretty consistent. Like the consistent things where it's like I know for a fact I need to put aside at least this amount of money versus like stuff that fluctuates based on, use and things like that and preferences.
Mm.
That comes from pocket money. Because then also, I don't have to buy groceries. Like realistically, I don't have to buy groceries. I could decide I'm gonna eat crackers for the whole month if I felt like it. Like there's no
I
penalty if you
Why
not
did I think you were
buy
about to say crack? Oh my goodness.
absolutely
No, but
not.
that's actually so wild. For the first no, yeah, for the first time, I went to the grocery store like on a set budget, and I was like, "Wait a minute, why the food so expensive?" Because I had all these plans for like different meals that I wanted to like try making or make. I was like, this ain't getting made. Okay, I'll put this back." Like actually calculating things, and but then I was also just thinking like how I eat as a person, because sometimes I might want to only have like salmon this one night and not have to buy it in bulk to like make it a cheaper option or something. But I do think I would be a person that goes to the store maybe like every week ish, because I would want to buy fresh ingredients and then make the food, eat it, and then I would have to go back to the store. I think that makes more sense for me instead of buying in bulk, because I'm an individual right
I
now.
mean, I think it depends on what you are buying in bulk. Like for me, the things I buy in bulk will be like pasta and like
Mm.
rice and like water.
Oh,
Like the
yeah.
things that don't spoil, nor is it an issue that they sit there for a long time. And it's not that I have to want to eat it this week or next week or the next, but that it's there when I do. And then, like you said, like I think things that I normally don't buy in bulk or you really can't buy in bulk is like meat, fruits, vegetables, drinks, like
Yeah.
my juices and my like protein, like those types of things. So I think you can play with it. I think also like you said, thinking of like the cheaper option. I think even like you said, you might not feel like eating salmon all week, but I feel like I would just put it in my freezer, right? I probably will crave salmon
Mm,
in the next.
yeah.
So but that's what I'm saying. Like it depends on what you're like comfortable with. But there is definitely stuff you
No.
can buy in bulk, and I think
Yeah.
over time it does make it a cheaper experience, right? Like if I go,
Yeah.
I personally have like Sam's Club, so like I go to Sam's Club and I'll get like a big old thing of pasta,
Yeah.
and I know like I don't need to buy pasta for like 4 months because it's so much pasta,
No.
stuff like that.
That's definitely true. Like I go to Costco. I got like the bulk pasta. But the reason why I made that face at the salmon was only because I get to a point like I'll have it in there for months and it just gets ridiculous.
Yeah, no,
Because
not
like
that.
no, I really am a person like when it comes to eating this, I'll eat it and I'll be like, I'm good. Yeah. And then it'll be like time until I really crave it again. So I've just learned that about myself. And I have to,
Then maybe you just need to
to,
look for an affordable, like, fresh meat place. Because I know for me, I get my meat from
oh,
Bravo.
oh, yeah.
Bravo's, like, very affordable, like, ridiculously affordable.
What is this Bravo you speak of?
Bravo supermarkets, it's like, I don't know if it's just in Florida or if it's, like,
Sounds
in
like
other
it.
places, but I love Bravo. It feels like a step into the Caribbean, honestly. I think it is actually.
Oh, there's one in Atlanta.
Yeah, it's really, really good. At least the
Oh,
ones
in
the ones I've been
Norcross.
to have been really, really good. They usually have like fresh produce, so like meats, vegetables,
Mm,
fruits, a lot of like things from the Caribbean. Especially, I think it's very like Latinx based, hence the
Mm.
name Bravo. Um, but I love it and it's affordable. Like I think I get the big thing of ground beef for like $10 or $11. Like
Oh.
yeah, it's pretty affordable and it's fresh. Like to me, it's better quality than a lot of places that I've seen or get things from. But I will say I
Mm.
have a weird shopping habit because like I get things in bulk from Sam's Club, then I get like basics like cereal or like if I wanted I don't know like sliced meat like the little meat stuff for sandwiches, I'll get that
Oh,
like
I miss
Walmart.
sandwiches.
I'm hollering. I'll get that like
Do
Walmart.
sorry.
No, go ahead.
There's Publix in I was about to say Chicago, Florida.
Yeah,
Have you ever gone to their deli section?
I
I don't care.
have.
Well, not I don't care. What I was gonna say was you should just try one day. Their Cajun chicken, that is so good on a sandwich. I think it's delicious. It's the best sandwich I've ever had. Okay, I'm so sorry. That just
You be thinking about food all the time.
it's not like it came out of nowhere. You were talking about meat.
I know, but like you got excited about it.
No, I really did. Because I haven't sandwiches are such a thing for me because I like them, but I don't eat them because it's just like I only ever want one sandwich sometimes. But I don't know. I don't know.
Are you supposed to want multiple at the same time? I'm confused.
No, like in the sense of like buying sandwich meat to take home cuz that's usually how I eat it. I don't really like going to delis. Cause I don't know, their sandwich bread is weird. It's a lot of bread, like I'm just not with the sandwiches.
The hand motions are sending me.
Yeah, cause it when I was younger, I would really just get like mayo, sandwich meat, and like lettuce or something, and I didn't see the point in paying a sandwich person to make that when it would be like $10 or something for no reason when it's just
Mhm.
those three ingredients when I could make it at home. But at home, if I make a sandwich, I legit want this one sandwich and then I'm probably good for however long. And no one else in the house I currently live in eats meat, so it doesn't make sense to buy sandwiches.
I don't know what to tell you, sweetheart. Like that
Uh,
sounds I
no,
think if you think of it a different way, right? You're paying for convenience more than the actual sandwich. It might make it an easier pill to swallow
mm.
because the alternative is you wasting resources and making it at home. But if
Or
the
the alternative is me not eating sandwiches, and that's what I've accepted.
I mean, in terms of you being able to actually still eat sandwiches, these are the
Uh,
alternatives. But I guess I see what you're saying.
oh no, you're tired.
I'm
Okay,
hollering.
that was the episode for today. Um, no, but we gotta let you pack, girl. Thank you so much for coming on today, Crystal. This was so great. You like revolutionized creating a village, point blank, period. I am forever grateful. Uh, thank you so much for joining us today, audience. And I hope that you learned something that you're inclined to come on the village, the podcast. Join. Come on. Come here. Yes. Like, comment, subscribe, leave a 5-star review. Follow us on Instagram at CAV underscore village, which is VILLAGE. Yes. And you can join us on whatever day we decide to do the public podcast. Okay. Do you have any parting words?
I think I would say just live life with the intentionality that makes you the most comfortable with who you are. I don't think you need to overthink it. So if you have goals, be intentional towards your goals. If you want to be intentional in relationships. If it feels like you're forcing it, don't force it. Whatever is like organic is usually the best approach. And if you're organically trying to build friendships and it's not working, maybe you don't need to pursue those relationships. Sometimes I think we try to force things that just don't necessarily need to happen, or is in the plan for us. What's meant to be will be. Like, there's a lot of relationships where people are surprised that individuals get along, and sometimes it even surprises the individuals in the relationship that they get along, but that's because something is drawing them to each other organically. So I don't think we need to overthink, being intentional. It's good to plan and stuff, but also like being intentional with no purpose isn't true intentionality. So you have to
Mm,
identify your purpose and your goals first and then move from there, in everything. So yeah, it's been fun being on the podcast again, Millie. If anyone wants to
period.
follow me, it'll be stx.crys on Instagram and on TikTok.
Period. All right. Thank you so much. And remember to keep creating a village wherever you go. Awesome.